right, well, I'm glad you came in today, and it's good to see you again. I think that you're generally in pretty good health, but you do seem to have a cough, and I know you're a smoker, and so I think that's probably contributing to it. What do you think?
Since I last saw you, I have had a couple chest colds, and I've noticed that I'm coughing up a little bit more mucus than I'm used to in the morning as well.
Okay, so what does that do as far as you thinking about your smoking?
Well, you know, I've really been weighing the pros and cons, and I've been thinking a lot more about quitting. I haven't set a specific quit date or anything like that, but I'm getting more and more interested just kind of as I think about these things that are happening to me.
Well, that's great. I know that the last few times I've seen you, we've talked about it, and you were pretty clear that you knew it was bad for people, but you weren't ready to quit yourself. And I've kept it in my notes so that I can revisit it with you, and it's good to hear that you're now thinking about it more. Can you tell me about when you have tried to quit in the past?
Unfortunately, activities like my morning coffee, getting in the car, really triggered some pretty intense cravings for me, and I was always relapsed, unfortunately.
About how many days do you think was your longest?
I'd say about 5 days has been my longest.
Well, first of all, 5 days is great. I know you probably didn't think so when you relapsed after 5 days, but some people can't even go that long, and for you, you probably learned a lot during those 5 days, so congratulations on that. So the things that have changed for you, sounds like health reasons?
Yes, yes.
How confident are you that you could quit for good this time on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being not at all confident and 10 being very confident.
I think I would only rate it about a 5 out of 10.
Okay, why not a 4?
Well, I think that I was lower on the scale, but now that I've kind of started to do some research on some of the long-term effects on the internet just on my own, that I've kind of realized that these things are going to start affecting me if I continue this behavior.
Okay. Well, I do advise you to quit, you know, as you've heard me say before. And do you think you'd be able to set a quit date sometime in the next 30 days?
I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay, well that's great. And I do think you can be successful this time, and I want to support you however I can. What methods do you want to use? Do you know anything about the medications that are approved for smoking cessation?
A friend of mine had used Chantix.
Yes, I've been prescribing it for several years actually, and it's a very successful medication.
I've also heard that there's some side effects.
You've probably seen the commercials with scary warnings and some good news recently. In this past year, the black label warning has been lifted, which gives us more confidence as physicians to prescribe it. It doesn't mean it's, you know, without its side effects and issues, but I think if I follow you, and I would like to have a follow-up visit in 2 weeks, I do recommend it.
Am I able to continue smoking while I'm on that?
The directions for taking it are very clear on the packaging that you'll get with it, but in general, you can actually keep smoking for the first 2 weeks. And then you get used to the medication, and you'll actually notice yourself start to decrease having a desire to smoke. And then you'll have on your quit date, you give up all tobacco.
Okay. That's great that I can still keep smoking during using it.
And actually, during those 2 weeks, I recommend you also call the New York State Smokers Quit Line. People think of them as being the folks that give you 2 weeks of free nicotine replacement therapy, the patch, and that's true, but in your case you don't need that because you'll be on Chantix, but they do counseling and support. So I encourage you to talk to them before your quit date, maybe even on your quit date, and certainly if you have any triggers, like you said, and are thinking of slipping, they love helping people feel supported.
Okay, that seems like a plan.
Okay, so I'll write a prescription for you, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time today.
In this role play, the physician was able to use 2 models, the 5 A's of smoking cessation and the stages of change. The 5 A's include ask, advise, assess, assist, and arrange. There are several ways you can ask a patient about their smoking history and about their quitting history. There are several ways to advise a patient to quit, but make sure the advice is clear, strong, and personalized. Assessing a patient's readiness to quit is something that can be used along with the stages of change. Are they in the pre-contemplative stage or are they in the contemplative stage? In this role play, the patient in the past had been pre-contemplative, but this time was considering quitting, and therefore the physician was able to help him decide to actually go into the preparation stage in readiness for the action stage. The physician was also able to talk about the maintenance phase and how to deal with slips that are anticipated in the future and getting support from the New York State telephone quit line. It's important to assist in other ways, letting the patient know that you're supportive, and then finally arranging for follow-up. In this case, a 2-week follow-up to talk about the medication the patient was on, but also just to revisit their motivation and their commitment. Using these two models, the stages of change and the 5 A's, a physician can be very effective for a brief office intervention for smoking cessation.